So this is just going to be a panel discussion. We highly encourage all of you to participate and ask us questions. We're going to start with some brief introductions. Sarah, would you like to begin?
Sure. I already introduced myself earlier. So Sarah Vogt with the law firm Greenberg Trarick. I've been there for 25 years. Free Britney. That was our case. Started with WinFrame 1.7 on the Women in Tech committee. CUGC local leader for Orlando. And mother of three.
René?
So, yeah, works. My name is René Bigler. Okay. About 25 years in IT. Today working as head of information technology at Elgan, public education in Switzerland. I've been always doing multiple jobs, having multiple heads, like teaching, IT, community work. So that's something I'm pretty happy with working in education because I have the time and the place to do different things.
Sacha?
No, it's okay now. Okay, I think it's working. I will. Sorry for that. Yeah, also myself already showed earlier. I started with MetaBrain a bit later than you, Sarah. So when I started in IT, the first thing I said, "Oh, this is not running on this computer. It's actually running somewhere else." I like to work with this stuff. So now I'm here. I think that's all what I want to add to my introduction before. Like this.
Try it, maybe. Maybe I can figure it out. Okay, Steve Elgan, I'm the IT director at One World Community Health Centers, based in Omaha, Nebraska. I've been there for 12 years. I've been in IT for approximately 25 years now, and in leadership for the last 20 years. So, co-lead the Omaha CUGC and currently serve on the steering committee as well. Hello?
My name is Martin Foss. I'm currently at Villanova University. I've been in IT for let's call it 9 years, maybe 10 years at best. One of those, I started with Citrix 7.6, so I'm definitely the young one of the group. And I have a degree in marine biology, and just ended up fell into IT and started doing a lot of virtualization, trying to really squeeze resources out of what we do and trying to deploy and solve problems. And that's one of the big things that I do is how do I utilize the available resources? Virtualization being one, just efficiently provide those resources to the widest group of people possible. So that's one of the ways that kind of has defined my work. It's, not as distinguished from IT as my compatriots here, but has been interesting to use it to solve problems, to solve resources, and to see how you fit this puzzle piece in.
All right. Thank you, everyone. So I'll start with the first question here for the panel, and just tell us what have you experienced any pressures, in your career path? There's oftentimes sort of try to demonstrate some technical competence, within the business. You're there for a certain amount of time, and then you sort of get either you feel it yourself or someone else is pressuring you to become into management, but maybe that's not necessarily what it is you want to do. Have you experienced that, and if so, how have you handled it? Anything that you've done to combat the unwanted pressure?
Should we just go down the line? So Greenberg Trarick is a fairly flat structure. So I'm only 2 people away from the CIO. but, so there's not a lot of growth if somebody is very happy in their job. But I will say I have witnessed people who are really, really good technically, and then they do kind of get picked up and become directors when that wasn't necessarily where their heart was at. I have managed to be pretty vocal about not wanting to take that path, and Greenberg has been very gracious on allowing for, you know, for me to just continue being technical. And even though I've been there for 25 years, I've had people that were under me, up here, and then now I can, you know, now we're above me, and I'm okay with that because I like to unwrap the toys and you know, put up the servers and explore the new technology, and doing budgets and reviews are just not something that I've ever been interested in. So I think, you know, having a company and working for an organization that is really, you know, in tune with people, you know, being happy in their role is really important.
Yeah, should be on. On now. Okay. So when I started a couple of years ago in today's role as head of IT at IBM, I was quite lucky because I could do a job sharing with a colleague of mine. So we shared the role, basically the role. He did everything financial and paperwork and all the stuff I hated to do. And I was basically the technical lead of my team or our team. It was great until my colleague decided to switch roles, and he wanted to go back into full-time teaching his classes. And then my bosses came to me and said, well, now it's up to you to do everything. And I couldn't agree with this deal. And I was happy enough to sort out a solution for me. So now I'm basically the technical lead of my team of 5 persons. But I don't have to do all those qualification stuff and all the paperwork like holiday planning and all those stuff. I put it to my boss basically. He took the personal all those tasks around the technical stuff. So today I can focus on technical leadership, and that was a good solution for me.
I think for me it's pretty similar. So they also asked me to have a team lead, and I said no. I want to lead, but just technical. So they said, okay, officially we don't have a technical lead role, but we give you now. We say you can have a technical lead role, but you don't have to care about vacation time. So I'm happy with that. I think everybody has to do what he likes to do, then he makes a good job.
How about you, Mark?
I'm probably unique in a situation where I realize it's something I do potentially want to move into. So one of the things I had is had those conversations of what do I want to do next? What other opportunities are available within the org, flat out, not only to my manager, but also the manager above them, and creating a joint effort. So I'm actually in the process, mostly done my second master's and working on an MBA, but made sort of like I told them, here's what I'm interested in. I don't want something now. I want to build up some basic experience first. I want to make sure I can round myself out, and so that when I do have the opportunity to move in, it's more defined as a whole, as opposed to just being dropped on me. Which is why I said I do not want something dropped. I want something planned.
Excellent. You know, I'm a little bit different. I'm already in the leadership role, and it was the job that I applied for 12 years ago. And the problem I'm running into now is I have staff who've been with me, you know, all of them have been with me at least 3 years, and some of them as high as 6 years. And so they are wanting advancement, but we're, you know, a relatively small organization based in Omaha. We got 600 employees, and there's 4.5 of us in the IT department. There's not a lot of structure there for upward movement. And so the challenge for me has been to sort of re-architect job descriptions to give a little bit more responsibility and move some of my more senior members of the team into sort of more coaching, mentoring type of roles in order to kind of give them that responsibility and justify the pay raises that they're asking for and what I want to give them so I can retain them and give them that sort of feeling of growth. And so it was very flat initially, and now we have like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 positions defined for all the different job roles, so it allows them an opportunity to move up. And it's something we just didn't have because we're a pretty young IT organization. So I've got one person who's vying for a leadership position, and so I think maybe my credit card reconciliation and my Amazon account reconciliations and all my other paperwork in my moves first haven't helped with procurement because that's a real pain for me. So, all right. Any questions from the audience that you want to ask for the panel regarding career growth or professional growth, leadership, anything like that?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So you said right now you on director role, right?
Yes, sir.
So do you miss the times when you were actually doing the job, doing the work? I mean,
yes, I do. I, for many years I've been the senior technical resource, and in a lot of ways I still am. But I've had to really focus hard on letting my team take over certain areas of our infrastructure, and so that's been a big challenge. My primary systems administrator has been out of the office for a couple of weeks, and we had some projects coming up, and so specifically it was the Nutanix objects cluster that we were deploying to use for some worm storage for backups, and it was pretty cool to be hands-on again, and I made a bunch of changes in the middle of business day, and I didn't break stuff. It was great, I was like, yes, I still got it. So I still
you
serve
don't
as
have to get
senior.
approval, right?
Huh?
You don't have to get approval. You
No,
have approval.
no, I'm the approval. I take all the heat and I get to make all those decisions. So, I made changes on our SD-WAN, on our core switching, on our firewalls, and everything all in a short period of time. It was really kind of fun to do that, and I wish I could do that full time, but unfortunately that's just not a reality. There's too many things to do. So, yeah. Thank you for the question. Any other questions from the group? Okay. So, how have you experienced imposter syndrome, and what have you done to overcome this? I've heard peers talk about this many times in the past, and so I'm curious to hear what y'all have dealt with in your professional career.
I think I have imposter syndrome today. I'm very uncomfortable leading, trying to fill this MC role and kind of doubting myself and feeling like everyone's going to realize that I'm not cut out for this. But I can sit at a conference table with attorneys that are really powerful in our country and in the world and make decisions on our network, and sometimes I think, wow, I should be playing with Barbies or something else, But you take a moment, you take a breath, and you sit back and you realize you got to trust yourself, and realize all the years and the hours and the all-nighters that I've pulled, where we've solved some really difficult problems, and I can do that. And sometimes you have to coach yourself through those moments. It's tough.
Yeah, I think to a certain degree this is absolutely normal and probably also a good thing. I like the saying, how does it work in English? If you're the smartest person in the room, you're definitely in the wrong room. And if I remember back when I became a CPP, it was amazing on one hand, but on the other side, when you meet with Webster, with all those big names, you read their blogs, and out to them and then basically part of this group thinks something must have been wrong. I can't explain.
You say what I'm thinking.
That's Dad? No? Okay. How about you, Marty?
So I definitely deal with this like every single day. I don't have any formal IT education. It was a fake it till you make it. It's a, serve people to smile originally with desktop support, moving into imaging, and then Windows system administration, and then server stack, networking, what have you. And then I just tell that voice, shut up. I'm here because I want to be here. I'm here because I want to prove something. And other people may be smarter than me. I have no problem with that. But I'm going to work, and I'm going to figure out how to do something. I'm going to sit down to read the manual, and then just start Googling because the manual is worthless anyway. And then figuring out what needs to get done and what do people want, and try to bridge those two together. So it's just tell that voice, I'm here because I want to be. And if you make a mistake, own up to it, because that's the best way to learn. Who hasn't taken down a production system in the middle of the day? I did it like my first week. It happens. I learned real fast. And that's I think the best way to combat it, is be okay with it.
Well, the first week you were very fast. I had longer.
I don't know that I would label this as what I've ever felt, an imposter syndrome. I think, I work in healthcare. There's a lot of physicians, and we kind of tend to know them to be very brilliant people, very smart, a lot of years of education and esteem and a stature to kind of go with that, and they just kind of seem to be brought up through that with their academic and residencies and things like that. And so I can just kind of tell myself, these people don't know how to remember a password. So even when I'm feeling a little bit in doubt of myself, like these people struggle to reboot a computer. They're brilliant. They can do all kinds of amazing things for our patients and provide amazing care, and really rose to the occasion in the pandemic, and yet they're human just like me, and they're gonna forget how to do basic things. And I think, some of it also kind of stems from what is your workplace culture like? I think it's sort of been more prevalent in sort of the DevOps sort of part of IT, but there's this notion of a safety culture, a place where you're allowed to make mistakes and not have the answer like that immediately. And I'm very fortunate that in my organization that we pretty much have that. I've been there for several years, so there's a lot of trust that's been built up. But even with my team, they make mistakes, and it's never we got to sit down and have a 30-minute meeting about how they screwed something up in a procedure. It's like, well, what do we need to do to make sure that it's better next time? Do we build a checklist around this process, or do we update our documentation, or how are we going to handle that so we don't have that problem? A couple weeks ago, I went to my boss and I didn't budget for this, but I need $60,000. He's like, well, let me go see if we can find the money somewhere. It was never a second in that conversation where I felt like, I'm so grateful for this. It was never like that. There's definitely a workplace safety culture where it's like there's a lot going on. You can never predict everything. You can never be perfect at everything, and a lot of that starts with leadership. And so hopefully y'all work in a place where it's like that. And if it's not, I hope you can find a place that allows it, because we are human. We're going to make mistakes, and we don't have to be perfect all the time. Any questions from the audience at this point? Sir.
Here's a question. For your leaders, do you prefer them to be technical, or do you prefer them to be more of leadership and budgeting, roles?
For me specifically? For our leaders, do we prefer them to be more technical or more kind of administrative, managerial in nature?
For me, it's technical.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have a couple directors that are amazing at both, and they, that's a rare breed that can both enjoy it and be great leaders, and also get in the trenches with you when you're trying to find that one bug. For me personally, I tend to like somebody who's more technical above me, as far as if I have a coach I was a swimmer and I had a swim coach that never swam. That didn't make sense to me because they don't know what you're going through. But, you know, obviously you need people who have finesse as far as the business side of things. But obviously the goal is to try and have both if you can. But for me, I'd rather have a technical person than both.
I think my manager, their manager, and their manager's manager all came from the system stack. So there's even up to the high, upper C-suite in my organization, they have the technical experience. I think I want to have the most technical of them be directly above me, and then more business oriented as they move further up to need the visibility. But for a direct manager, having that previous technical experience is critical, in my opinion.
Yeah, my boss, I report to the COO, and he used to be the IT director, and he used to work for a small consulting firm where they wrote software and deployed computers for small businesses and stuff. So he, having him have a technical background certainly makes it easy to explain certain technologies and concepts. And whenever I'm looking at something new, like when it was SD-WAN or when it was bringing in hyperconverged infrastructure, it was much easier to talk to him about this kind of thing than it might have been, say, our CEO, who is a brilliant business person but doesn't have very much technical knowledge. And so on my team, I don't have any managers or leaders that are reporting directly to me, but I do have some people who are more senior in IT who are doing coaching and teaching and kind of mentoring of our more junior members of the team. And so bottom line across my whole IT organization, I'm looking for people who can talk to people, the kind of the real rigid IT people who don't really have the great soft skills, don't tend to be a very good fit within my organization because our end users really kind of expect people to treat them like they treat their patients, with compassion and treat them like a human. And so that's what we're looking for in our organization. Good question, thank you. Any other questions?
I had a question on certifications. Have you guys gotten certifications in your career, and have you ever seen where maybe you got a certification and it wasn't needed?
Sure, so the question is, do any of us have certifications, and do we get them and then not really need them, or is it pretty necessary? What's your take on that? Start with Bigler.
So I think my CCP V just lapsed, so I think I can access that much, but I obtained a couple, but they drove me to challenge myself. So I use them as a mechanism for getting certs in Azure, or for SCCM, for Server 2019, for just desktop side, Citrix. It's a way to challenge myself. Okay, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna do the boot camp, I'm gonna take the course, and I'm gonna pass it. Is the way that I find that I get myself excited and I get myself driven to succeed in that way. So I don't think they're necessary, that they're required, but they're a nice way for me to say, hey, yeah, I can do that. But again, that's my way to motivate myself to go through that.
So yes, I had, I think, started in my Citrix certifications also when I started with MetaFrameXP, with CCA and CCE and CCIA, and the last 4 years I didn't make any certifications because now I'm working for a customer. Before I worked for a service provider, so I had to have certifications, and I think when I may be looking for a new job, I have to renew all them. But I say qualification is better than certification. But I think in some positions it's just needed. So it helps to show I'm qualified, here's my certification. But I think that's not all. In my opinion, you can learn all. And it's easy to get a certification if you really want to, but it doesn't say that you are a good professional. So you can make it. I think if you are looking for a job, you have to make it. And after time, maybe it's no more so important. My personal opinion.
For me, it was more of a personal challenge to take some certifications, because from my employer, absolutely necessary to have them. I did quite a lot of Nutanix certifications, ITIL certifications, because I got free access to all those certification programs as a member of their community programs. I once also did a Citrix certification that expired, and I stopped retaking them because there was no discount available or no free access to those. But I took them just as a challenge for myself to see if I can get through. So it doesn't help me on my daily job probably. It doesn't help me with more money or whatever.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, my first degree, or my first certification was the C&E, that's the Nobel. That's how long we've been doing this. But being that I work for a customer, I've been there for 25 years, I admit, I have been lazy in that department and not pursued them. I think certainly if you're going to be looking for a new job, they do help. But I can also say when we've been interviewing for new team members, sometimes when you get somebody who only has a year experience and they have all these certifications, we used to call it a paper C&E. You know, they really, it means something, but it's not everything. So.
Yeah, I kind of similar opinion to some of y'all. I think my observation has been, if you're in the partner space, you know, it's really, really essential because of how that whole world is structured with the manufacturers of the software and stuff. But my last was a CCA. I don't remember when I did that, 2010 or 11 or something like that. It's expired. What I found is it helped me to try to explain some of the concepts to people on my team. Kind of give me some of the language and the structure for how to talk about how Citrix works, because it was all smoke and mirrors to them. But I don't really care if they have certifications when I'm hiring somebody. I have staff members who have expressed interest in certain certifications, and I'll even dangle a little extra carrot there and say there's a pay bump for you. Not even necessarily one time, but an annual bump. They don't do it. I tell them, you know, you go pass the test, I'll reimburse you if you pass it. They don't take me up on that. I've had them ask me, we want more training, and we'll do that. We'll get like Pluralsight subscriptions or CBT nuggets. They don't use it, and I end up paying for this stuff, and it's like, you know, what's the point? So I think, you know, there has to be a certain kind of drive and energy and a use case for these kinds of things, and I'm just not seeing it, you know, in my space. So, good question. Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Sir.
Each of you work with many vendors, but in your opinion, what makes a vendor a partner or a great partner?
Ooh. What makes a vendor a great partner? Sacha?
If he's more a friend than a vendor, if he is honest to you, if you go to drink a beer with him, with the one that you work with it when you met him actually in the city, then it's a partner. When it's a friend, when you can trust him.
Yeah, I think in Switzerland the personal relationship when doing business is quite important. Usually also you want to have face-to-face contact with the people. You won't solve something just by sending, you know, LinkedIn request or an email. We have to meet, we have to have lunch maybe once or twice, and get each other know. Then maybe something will happen. Maybe that's different from the States. I can't relate.
No, I think that's similar. For me, it's definitely they better be smarter than me, because if I'm going to pay you to come in here, I don't want to teach you what you should already know that coming in. And we've sat with some people, not anyone recent, but you know, where they're looking at the manual. And I understand sometimes if it's a new product or maybe something's changed, but I don't want to teach somebody their job. So they better know more than we do. And we're a tough crowd.
I want to echo the going out for a beer or a pizza or something. As simple as it is, just having that time to chat doesn't need to be about work. It could be about anything. What are you doing? How long have you been here? Some of the best partners I can think of are those where the vendor is just sending me a text message or email saying, hey, it's been a little while since we went out. Do you want to go grab lunch? I can tell you about some of the new stuff coming out, but then they can also give honest feedback of, off the wire saying, hey, here's one or two things to be worried about. Here's some things to be aware of. That speaks volumes. Or just how are you? Like that, those are the partners, because if they show that interest in you, ultimately give their product that extra consideration as well. So, and then you have the ability to say, here is a problem. They'll escalate your ticket for you. They'll do the extra jumps and hoops. And I've had problems where, a former Citrix employee did those jumps for me, saying, hey, I'll get this flagged up to the tier 3 level for you because you're going nowhere with T1. That mattered a lot.
I'm going to ask the timekeeper because I can't read that sign. How much time?
I think our time is up.
Time is up. Okay.
So I'll just close and say that as IT director, my phone and email are ringing off the hook with people wanting to get my attention and to buy their product. And I am not looking for somebody to tell me what I need to be doing. And I just need partners and vendors who just want to listen and understand what our challenges are. And once I get a sense that maybe that's where you're coming from as a vendor, then the next test is let's go have a beer together and see if we can actually talk about some things. Because if I can't have a beer with you, we're probably not going to do business. Simple as that. So
don't call me, I call you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much to our panelists for joining us and putting yourself on the spot today. Thank you all for your questions and your attention.